Hi, this is Tyler again, reading to you from Days of Ragnarok, page 297. Church. I guess it's fortunate that Christmas came late in the week this year because Church of the Bend is in need of a business meeting. Mittens and fur mufflers have replaced most of the socks that used to keep fingers warm. Lisa Isham is the belle of the ball with her new fur jacket. Alan is already prepped with advance notice of my intentions and will accept the will of the group. As everyone sits, waiting for the service to begin, I stand to speak. Having church services in the dining area has its advantages. We don't have to go far for dinner. The bad side is having to smell the food during the message. Good morning, everyone. Before we begin our service, I have an item of church business that I would like to offer before you. I've enjoyed Alan's ministry and look forward to his messages each week. But when we began, we didn't see a need for a pastor in an official capacity. Though we saw no need, we apparently had one, and Alan has filled it well. Today, we have not only one, but two freshly engaged couples who would like to marry. All eyes turn to Scott, Rocky, George, and Jackie, who are seated together on the front row of chairs. I propose that we, as an independent church, officially call and ordain Alan Duncan as our pastor, so that he might perform these weddings as a duly appointed and called minister of the gospel. Fred Livingston stands. I second that motion. Let's make official what God has made obvious. Without even a call for vote, the unified voice of the congregation says aye. Bob Isham speaks loudly from his seat in the third row. We may have butchered Robert's rules, but it looks like we have a pastor if he'll accept us. Alan Duncan stands, and all grow quiet as he speaks. Thank you for your confidence and calling. I will accept the position as long as you don't make me wear a robe or any funny collar. Joyous amens. Church begins with a secure feeling that we are not just passing time with shared devotions. We are now a real church with a mission. And soon, a double wedding. Singing is powerful, giving rise to a unified group with hope amidst a country in despair. Dad and I are left stranded as Mom and Anna get some time with Rocky and Jackie to make wedding plans. Dad is truly a great leader, and it shows not only through our companies, but in the quiet way he supports people with what they need to succeed. Jason, this double wedding couldn't have come at a better time. When we first got here, I was concerned the idleness would get people down, but the newness of getting organized carried us quite some ways. Then we caught new wind with all the guessing over your baby coming. We got busy with Thanksgiving and followed it with Christmas, gift making. I interrupt Dad for just a moment. I heard from several that you brought up the subject of Christmas gifts. And when they lamented not having stores, it was your suggestion that they make their gifts like in pioneer days. I think you secretly orchestrated this Christmas bash from behind the scenes. Dad smiles knowingly and says, wasn't it Ronald Reagan who said that it's amazing how much can be done when you don't care who gets credit? All I did was feed imagination that was already there. That's my point, though. Right after New Year's, people often make decisions that are not well considered because they are empty inside and have lost hope. Christmas and New Year's are such epic events that the sudden stop, coupled with a cold gray winter, makes for rash decisions founded on despair. It's going to be a long wait from New Year's to mid-March when the team goes to recon. This wedding needs to be big and involve the whole camp. It's what will provide purpose and hope until we find the next chapter. Every exit plan needs to be the beginning of the next action. I finally see where Dad has done this with our family all along. Generally, we had a lot of events coming naturally, but there were a few times when he would come up with a party, road trip, or vacation that fit right into a schedule void and required a lot of organizing. I see now that it was all according to plan. It was the expectation and anticipation that sustained us. He's rightfully still my hero. Anna and Mom are talking with Jackie and Rocky about their plans, but are especially interested in their rings. Anna asks Jackie, "Your rings are beautiful, and I hear the boys made them. How did they do it?" Did they tell you? Holding out her silver-colored ring proudly, Jackie answers, "They may not be gold, but I wouldn't trade mine for a pound of it." Alan, maybe I should say Pastor Alan now. Anyway, he helped the guys with the metal pouring, but George and Scott each designed our rings first out of candle wax. Then they put them into plaster molds and heated them up so the wax would melt out. This is where Alan helped. They gathered aluminum and melted it so they could pour it into the mold. Once it hardened, they washed away the plaster and smoothed and polished the rings. George told me they had to do it 3 times before mine came out. Aren't they beautiful? Roxanne shows off her ring with a triple rose pattern, while Jackie's has an eagle with outstretched wings along the band. Roxanne says, "They say they'll replace these with gold ones when they can, but I'll never let this one out of my sight. I found out the guys got Christy to teach them cake decorating tricks so they could apply that to wax carving. She never caught on. I guess we know where to get cake decorated," Mom says. "Have you girls decided when you want the wedding? The whole camp seems to want to help." "The 4 of us were talking it over," said Roxanne. "The boys left timing to us. We thought about a small, intimate wedding, but with everyone so excited, I'd hate to disappoint them. Even the Palmer girls said they'd weave a grass runner." All 4 ladies laughed, but Mom says, "That might be a nice touch. It could add a link to the camp where you all met. Maybe not a full runner, but maybe a mat to stand on. It could add some symbolism." Jackie says it will have to be 2 mats, but I like the idea. "I guess it will depend on when the Johnson grass grows down here. Flowers, too, for that matter. I wonder when they start blooming in this desert." Anna comments, "One thing will be easy. No need for invitations or a guest list." The ladies continue with regular bursts of laughter. They are having a great time, and Anna is grateful that her pregnancy is no longer the center of attention. New Year's. With only 7 days between Christmas and New Year's, it seems like the celebrating just continues. Party is held in the theater dining area for entertainment, and we have a talent night. Most of the talent is comic, but some of the Wagner children are very accomplished at piano. Everyone is impressed. George Harden, John Stubbs, and Scott Iverson performed the first skit called "Watch Your Hat and Coat." On the stage is a table covered with a floor-length tablecloth. A coat rack stands behind them, next to a sign that reads, "Not responsible for stolen items." George and Scott walk on stage as George explains that even though this restaurant is in a really bad part of town, it serves great food. He does admit that he has only eaten lunch here and that dinner time clientele look rather creepy. They both appear nervous as they constantly look back at their coats. John enters as the server, while nerves seem to get the best of Scott and George. They order just a cup of soup for dinner and they eat it hurriedly. Feeling good that no one has touched their hats or coats, they stand to leave with only their long underwear showing as someone apparently has stolen their pants. The entire audience laughs hysterically and the mood is set for the night. Our night ends with a more serious tone. Alan brings a short message of hope, and we join in prayer as each person names friends and family we are concerned for. Every year is different, but this begins like none other. Most of the world we know is gone, and we have no idea what this new world will be like. George Harden and I talk of the changes and anticipation of what's next. George says, "I don't think we can ever be prepared for what's left of things. When I was in junior high, the principal came to our class and called me to the hall. Everyone thought I was in trouble, but I had the feeling that this was something else. Even knowing that wasn't enough to prepare me for what Mr. Arbogast had to say. Our school secretary, Mrs. Anders, was with him. I could see she had been crying, and Mr. Arbogast was upset too. Then he put his hand on my shoulder and told me there was an accident and both my parents were killed instantly. Jason, there's no way to be prepared for your world to change that much, that fast." "George, I never knew that about your life. What happened after that?" "You'd think that was enough for any kid, but it was only the beginning," he says. "I had no brothers or sisters, and with no parents, I was at the mercy of the state. It was a circus between both sides of the family. Everybody wanted me, but I think it was more of wanting the house my folks left, and I was the extra baggage. Aunt Dee and Uncle Ed, who were who I was sent to after the judge said the estate would be put in trust for my care and education. Most relatives dropped interest when they learned they wouldn't have control of the money, but Dee and Ed still wanted me. I had to move to their farm in Iowa and attend a rural school. What a change for a city kid. I'm telling you, my life changed big time. How did you adjust? I asked. Well, he says, my first fight happened on the first day of school. Some big kid made a crack about my folks, and I hit him hard. Did you win? I'm surprised and curious. No, he says with a smile. He beat the crap out of me. But afterward, when he found out about the accident and my folks dying, he apologized and became my best friend. Dan and I stayed in contact right up to the collapse. If he's still alive, he's on the family farm in Iowa. Their farm isn't huge, but they grow much of their own food. There's a good chance they'll come out of this. I ask, how long did you stay with your Aunt Dee and Uncle Ed? George stands and turns the chair around that he was sitting on, and then sits backwards on it again. I graduated high school and went on to Iowa State. Working on Dee and Ed's farm built me pretty good, but I still couldn't make the cut to play football, so I opted for civil engineering. I got my bachelor's degree and ended up leaving Iowa for Houston. 3 years ago, I was hired at OSI. What attracted you to OSI? I asked. With a big grin, he says, I heard you had a really cute girl working in accounting. Laughing with George, I say, that's as good a reason as any. At camp, and now here in Terlingua, we live in a controlled environment. Our faith is unified, and we exist as a family. Concern for one another is what binds us together, and we are still isolated from the destruction that has torn our country apart. This is about to change. In 10 short weeks, we send out a survey team, and upon their return, we will be baptized into the ugly reality of what has become of our homeland. Our prayer tonight is sincere and in earnest. God's grace and favor has sustained us, but we will need that grace abundantly in the days ahead. Anna is in her 3rd trimester, and her tummy is weighing on her more noticeably. Walking has become a means of finding another place to sit down with no pleasure in the journey. We're in our cottage talking. Anna's sitting on the bed, and I'm a little concerned about near events. Have you thought about how we're going to deliver our baby? I mean, you're the most highly trained medical person we have, but it's you that's having the baby. Who's going to attend the birth? Anna generally has things like this under control, and this is no exception. I've been talking this up with the ladies and found that Marge Wagner is quite the pioneer woman. She makes soap, raises chickens, and grows a garden. I interrupt. That's great if you believe babies are found under a cabbage leaf, but can she help with delivery? You silly, Hannah replies. I was getting to that. Marge has been interested in pioneer life for a long time and has read most of all 4 Foxfire books. She has also attended the home births of each of her 4 grandchildren and assisted with 2 of them. She will be my midwife, and Jackie can assist her. I've been teaching Jackie a lot about emergency medical procedures, and she learns quickly. I think I'm in good hands. Besides, you'll be there too. I will? I ask as I move behind Anna and cuddle her in my arms. What's my job? You, my dear husband, are there for me. You are my labor coach and comforter. Who's going to comfort me? I ask with a smile. Anna smiles back. Your comfort will be knowing that you are doing what God put you here for. It was in the vows, remember? Oh, yeah, I say. I almost forgot that part. I'm glad you were listening. Anna pokes me in the ribs with her elbow, but she's smiling, and I give her a squeeze hug back. Showers. With all the activity surrounding a double wedding, it's hard to believe that February will be here in another week. Adelaide finds a bolt of beautiful white fabric, and though it isn't enough to make 2 full wedding dresses, it's enough to make 2 skirts with trains that look like the bottom half of a wedding dress. With the brides wearing a white blouse and veil, they will look beautiful. Of course, I haven't seen the dresses, but Anna tells me all about them. There's some superstition of bad luck if the groom sees the dress, and since I'm male, the women decide the rule must apply to all men. I think they're using this to justify hen parties. After dinner, everyone stays put. Something is up. The door opens and Bob Isham comes in with something large under a sheet. We all think it's for the wedding couples, but he stops in front of Anna and sets it down. Anna and Jason, this is for you, says Bob. We're both surprised as Anna takes off the sheet to reveal a beautifully handmade baby cradle. Anna bursts into tears. It's beautiful, she says. Thank you. It's perfect. We haven't forgotten about you too, says Mom, as many stand in line to place handmade gifts into the cradle. There are toys for the baby, knitted baby blankets, and Jackie brings a gift that evokes a hug from Anna. Jackie has learned to knit from Irene's class and made some booties for the baby. It's a throwback to the day Anna opened and found the EPT test that Rita had sent. Anna says, well, now I guess is the time to knit booties. Thanks, Jackie. This means so much. The kitchen doors open as Stephanie Christie and Kathy Palmer each parade in with cakes in their hands. The first says Happy Baby, the second says George and Jackie, and the third says Scott and Rocky. Mom says again, we didn't forget about the wedding couples either. As the cakes reach the tables where the couples are seated, gifts are placed on the tables next to the cakes. Some gifts are funny messages, like a medicine bottle with patience written on the label. Another is more serious and sincere. It's an envelope with coupons to the new wife from the new husband for chores to be done, dates out, back and foot rubs, and other acts of kindness that are always appreciated. The other envelope contains coupons of similar nature from the wife to the husband. Eating the cakes becomes a group effort, and in short order, there are a few pieces left. Nikki, Jackie, and Rocky walk back to their cottage after the shower. With the wedding in just a few days, they talk of future plans. Nikki begins, do Scott or George have plans set for you after you're married? Jackie and Roxanne look toward each other, but Jackie answers first. George and I talked about it. He knows we want to find out about our folks in Montana, and he has family in Iowa. For the short term, we plan to stick with the group. Things are still pretty unstable, but when it's safe, we'd like to make the trip. Roxanne appears to relax as Jackie shares their plans. Scott and I have about the same idea. My folks are in rural East California, and Scott's family is up in Alberta. We know his family is okay, but we still don't know about mine. When travel is safe again, we'd like to see them, but for now, we're also staying with the group. There's safety in numbers. Nikki shares, it looks like we all want to find family, but I'm glad you're waiting till it's safe. I'd be willing to bet our parents are as worried for us as we are for them. I'm going to talk with Pat to see if they have any answers from the ham radio. Pat and Lucas are setting up the radio after the bridal baby shower, so Nikki goes to listen and talk with Pat. Hello, Nikki, says Pat. What brings you out tonight? Hi, Pat, Lucas. Lucas doesn't like to be called Mr. Maxwell. I wanted to ask you about what ham radio is doing since the collapse. Ask away, Pat replies. The chatter won't start for a few more minutes. Things start to wake up about 10. Nikki gathers her thoughts. Well, since phone service is gone and the internet is dead, radio is all that's left. Are there ham operators in every state? That's not easy to say, Pat says. There's a lot more listeners that are willing to transmit. Violence has come way down with operators are starting to come back on the air. What did you have in mind? Are you trying to reach somewhere in particular? Nikki continues. My parents don't have a radio, but I'm pretty sure someone in their town does. I was thinking that if we could organize all these radios to work together, we could sort of build a message system. I know there are a lot of people separated from family. It would be nice to get word to them. Nikki, amateur radio is way ahead of you. Amateur operators have been working with the military to assist passing emergency and other messaging since 1925. The system is called MARS, Military Auxiliary Radio Service. Since then, 2 other emergency message services have been formed under FEMA. RACES stands for Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service, and ARES is the Amateur Radio Emergency Service. All 3 practice message passing over designated frequencies and time. Right now, we're seeing the system start to rebuild as operators get back online. One problem we're finding is that the old system depended on home addresses, email, and telephone numbers. None of those work anymore, so we've developed workaround methods. Another is that everyone is on battery power, and that limits each station's transmit time. We're working to establish a digital text network to save power and increase time for the stations, but it's all just coming together at this point. Nikki pulls up a chair as she asks, "How do you find a ham operator that's near the person you want to get a message to?" Pat pulls out a rolled poster-sized map of the US, Canada, and Alaska. Unrolled, Nikki can see that it's marked into grids with longitude, latitude, and numbers assigned to the squares. This map is called a grid square map, and it gives us a quick general location for any place in the US or Canada. Officially, we go by longitude and latitude plus the grid square number, but many just tell us the state they're in and add the grid square number to localize it. We use a form to pass messages we call traffic. It starts with the local operator, me, and a distant operator who I pass the message to. The message has name and location information of the person originating the message, and the name and location information of the person we're trying to reach. I search for a contact with an operator who is closer to the destination and pass the message to them. They do the same, and eventually the message gets to who we're sending it to. With the huge loss of population since the crash, if we get a message to the local area, people there should know something about them. Nikki is impressed. "When do you think it will be up and running? Could we send a message now?" "We can always try," says Pat. "Who are you trying to reach?" "Northwest Montana," Nikki says as she looks at the map. "My folks would be in square 36 or 37. Pat begins to write. "From N5 OSI to," we'll fill that in later, originator, Nikki. "Nikki and Jackie," Nikki adds. "Nikki and Jackie Chambers," Pat continues. "To," Pat looks up at Nikki, "Ron and Jennifer Chambers, Rock Creek Road, Phillipsburg, Montana," replies Nikki. "Ron and Jennifer Chambers, location, Rock Creek Road, Phillipsburg, Montana, grid square 36/37. Message. Okay, what do you want to tell them?" Nikki ponders a moment, then replies, "We are safe and well with good company. Jackie is getting married to George Hardin. He is a good man. I approve. Miss you greatly. Please reply. Love, Nikki." Pat laughs and says, "It sounds like a letter from camp, but it'll work. If it gets through, I bet you'll get a response right back. I'll send it off tonight. This may take several days to get there, and the same to get a reply. On the other end, they may need to ask around to locate your folks, and that could take another few days. This system isn't perfect or fast, but it does work. Let's hope for the best." "I just want to know they're alive and well," Nikki responds. "Not much else matters." Nikki returns to her cottage while Pat and Lucas begin working the radio bands for news and message traffic. Wedding plans. "Adelaide," says Mom, "where are we going to put these two new couples for their wedding night? Can I help?" Adelaide pulls out her room booking chart and looks it over. Good question. With our two grooms moving out of the Rock House, we can move in some of the older boys from the Perry rooms. That gives us one more room there. Next, we can move Nikki in with Stephanie Sweeney, and that gives us the second room for the newlyweds. Adelaide, you're amazing," Mom says. "I can't tell you what a blessing you and Lucas have been to us. There aren't words to describe it. We're surely going to miss you when we give you back your space." "Cynthia," says Adelaide, "I'm not sure who's going to miss who more. We've grown kind of sweet on this big family. It's going to be real lonesome without you and especially the children." "Adelaide, you can be sure the children will miss you and Lucas both. But we'll all stand in line for that. I'm not sure what's ahead, but you'd be welcome to join us. The Midwest won't be as hot as South Texas, and you would have the support of a big family. We'd love to take you with us. Cynthia, the offer is tempting, but I'm pretty sure our place is right here. We've spent most our lives here. I suspect we'll finish it out here too. We have enjoyed having regular church, and your ladies cook some fine meals. I've enjoyed the vacation, let me tell you. But expect now that things are slowed down, some of our help will make it back. And we'll start the place back up. We might trade rooms for supplies rather than money, but trade will resume in one way or another. We'll get by. The wedding day has come, and with it, realization that flowers don't grow here until April. Not wishing to delay the double wedding another 8 weeks, both couples concede to forego the blooms. The Palmer girls also find Johnson grass isn't plentiful enough to weave the grass mats they intended for this blessed day. But Willie comes to the rescue. He and Pete go back to camp and find 2 woven mats that are still in fair shape. When Travis and the boys get to Terlingua, Willie finds the Palmer girls and tells them the story. I got to camp and started going through the cabins. Not a single mat was usable. I guess the winter was tough on the mice. There wasn't a single mat that wasn't chewed to bits. The girls' faces looked sad, and they had hoped Willie would have found some good mats. He continues, then I went to the community building and looked through the stacked ones there. The girls started to brighten up. You know, those mice got to every one of those too. There were even some bugs that had taken up nesting in between some of the mats. Almost ready to give up hope, the girls waited patiently as Willie finished. Then I looked up, and you know what I saw? My mats! Exclaimed Kristen. I tossed 2 mats up on one of the long wires in the ceiling. Were they all right? Willie has a beaming smile. They were. Not a mouse bite on either one, and no bugs. I have them in the truck. All 3 girls throw hugs on Willie's neck, nearly knocking him down. They tug his arms toward the truck. With their prize in hand, Kristen, Kelly, and Corey march triumphantly to the chapel with their mats. There will be 2 wedding mats for the couples to stand on as they take their vows. The wedding is beautiful. Both brides wear white blouses and simple skirts, but they are wrapped with an outer layer of fabric, much like an apron worn in reverse, that flows like a wedding gown behind them. Each with a veil, the ensemble has all the appearance of a full wedding dress. The grooms wear dark pants with a white shirt and look equally handsome. Alan officiates perfectly. Both Roxanne and Jackie stop and tear up as they see the grass mats the girls made. They, too, had given up hope of this tie to the camp, only to have a miracle save the day. Dad and Fred stand in to give away the brides. Nikki stands as Jackie's maid of honor, while Stephanie stands for Roxanne. John Stubbs is George's best man, and I am Scott's best man. Adelaide finds some silk flowers to make 2 bouquets so the brides have something to throw, and Christy Duncan passes out Milo for everyone to toss instead of rice. As we witness the union of these 4, our friends' tears fill the eyes of these 4 of our friends, tears fill the eyes of many. One pair of soggy eyes are Willie's, as he sits amidst 3 young ladies who are ever grateful for his help in making this day extra special. We adjourn to the dining hall for cake and dinner. As the single ladies line up to catch the bouquets, both brides toss them over their backs. Stephanie catches one, and Lupe Ramos catches the other. Dinner is wonderful, and the wedding party sits at the head table while many make toasts and well wishes. Standing, I raise my glass to the couple. Rocky and Scott, may God bless you together, better than you could ever know apart. Scott, you have been and are my best friend. I've noticed your distraction, and I've watched your distraction. Now I know her name. Roxanne, I salute you for capturing a fine husband, and Scott for winning the heart of a beautiful wife. Congratulations to you both. Now to George and Jackie, I pray God's blessing upon you as well. Jackie, you are also a beautiful bride as well as a talented worker. George, you have found gold. May God bless you both as you continue to discover the depths of love and the character you each bring to making this marriage a lasting success. Hear, hear is echoed across the room. The ladies have outdone themselves in making the wedding cake. A large sheet cake makes the base, but there are 2 upper tiers side by side, and 2 bride and grooms stand atop those tiers. Over the years, there have been several weddings held at Terlingua Ghost Town, and left behind are ample wedding cake fixtures to accommodate the fashioning of a wonderful cake. Another link to the camp is concealed under the frosting of the top tier cake layers. These small tiers are two-layer cakes, but the lower tier, but the lower layer is somewhat heavier due to the Milo flour it's made from. Both couples choose to share a piece of that cake in the traditional cake cutting ceremony. It's a solemn event. Links to the past with hope for the future is not marred with foolishness. These couples are accepting a huge challenge that is still unwritten. They are taking their vows seriously and with devotion, probably mixed with a bit of fear also. Couples are showered with Milo as they make their way to each decorated wedding suite. Much like a chivalry, most of the group parades their couples to their roost and cheer as each groom carries his bride across the threshold. Scott closes the door and looks deeply into Roxanne's brown eyes. I can't believe I found you and that you have blessed my life with yours. I love you, Rocky. Scott gives Roxanne a lingering kiss, and their arms wrap each other into a single embrace. As he lowers Roxanne to the bed and sits beside her, the unmistakable rattle of a cowbell clangs out. Almost immediately, an uproar of laughs explodes outside their door, mixed with congratulations, you two. Someone has tied a cowbell to the bottom of the box spring, and they have been waiting outside to hear it. Very funny, shouts Scott as Roxanne covers her face in her hands and laughs. The crowd moves on as Roxanne questions, I wonder what they did to George and Jackie. Have a great weekend.